Recently, I was invited to speak into Taylor Welch's Arena group. It's a high-end group. And on Mondays, he teaches people about mindset, how to really mold and shape how you view the world. And recently asked his group, who should we have come teach us inside of the group? And there were multiple requests for yours truly, Katie Richardson. And I had a really incredible conversation. It's more of a presentation. What's unique about this group is they're entrepreneurs who are living a multidimensional life, meaning they care about their spouse and kids, they care about their faith and relationship with God, and they care about their team and customers and clients. These are many variables that are not easy to navigate, and it's something that I became very curious about at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. And so in today's podcast interview, it's me talking into that group and sharing with them some really important insights for how you can navigate all of these variables in a powerful way. And I'm excited to share this with you. It's something that I feel very passionate about. And my hope is that you will have a light bulb go off, that you will have tremendous insight that has direct application to you and your business, your family, your spirituality, your life. So let's hop into the conversation.
So today we're talking about how to design your ideal 2024. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds kind of fun. That sounds kind of nice. Is this something that, I want to hear from you guys, is this something that you want to do, would be nice to know how to do? Or I want to know, where's your level of commitment? Are you committed? Oh, Luke, I must do it. Okay. Are you committed to learning how to do this? Brooke just said yes.
Throw it in the chat.
Luke said committed. Because listen, here's the thing. I can teach you something really amazing, but if you're not actually interested in it, if you're not committed to it, I can't really make a difference in your life. So Cassidy said yes. Tina said yes. Randy said, gotta do this. It's a must. Christina just said, let's learn. Cassidy said, always leveling up. Love this. Let's go. Stephen. Okay. If you're committed, then I would like to create an agreement with you in order to be able to do this, right? And this agreement is two parts. The first is I want you to be super present with me right here, right now. If you're in your home office, shut your door and lock it so your kids don't pop in. If you have a phone next to you, pick it up, put it in do not disturb. It's right here. Mine is already on. Put your phone in do not disturb. I want you to be super present with me. You have many things that you are worried and concerned about. I want you to take those and set them aside right now. Okay? So be super present with me. The second is I want to invite you to be curious. What happens when we're curious? It's like we have this totally different frame of mind. We're wearing a different frame. Oh, we're open. We're teachable. We're ready to learn. I want you to put on the frame of curiosity. Be present and be curious. And if you will, you're going to learn some things. Now, when you learn something, yes, I'm going to be saying some really cool, exciting things. You can write those down, okay? But you're going to be hearing things inside of your head that I don't know about you, that I don't know where you're at in your business. I don't know what you're facing in your life. But you know who does? This guy. He knows what's going on in your life, and he can speak to you in this conversation. You need to write those things down as well. What I'm saying and what you're hearing for you, write those things down. And you know what else I'm going to tell you to do? And we're going to be doing this together. I want you to draw. Because when we draw, we make new connections. You might be saying, Katie, you're a designer. You know how to draw. I don't know how to draw. That's not true. If we went back to kindergarten, first grade, second grade, guess who was drawing? Every one of you. And when you draw, you make new connections in your mind, okay? So don't just write this out, draw it out. And I'll show you what to draw, okay? Just copy me, okay? Follow me. So if we're going to be present and committed, I can then show you how to design your ideal 2024. In order to do this, we have to understand, what does it even mean to design? What does it mean to design? My background really quick, I'm a product designer. I went to school for design and was really fortunate to be ultra successful in school. I won national design awards. I got a scholarship from General Motors. The guys in my class were like really resentful about that because I got the scholarship. So design it's a language. It's a language that's visual. Okay? Vision. Think plan, think intention, thinking in form and imagery. Okay? I actually went to some reliable resources and asked what is design. And if you go search Google, what is it called? The International Creation, no, what am I looking at? I have notes right here. There's this group. They're called like the International Design Council, something like that. Doesn't matter. They define design as the study and practice, interaction between a person and an object. Okay, so let's write this down. Design, simply put, it's the interaction, the interplay between these two different worlds. Person and an object. Okay, cool, interesting. When I read that, I was like, yeah, that totally makes sense. And I feel like something's missing. I kept searching, and there's this designer that is a young designer. I really loved this designer. He and his wife are really well known for their furniture, and I studied furniture. I did woodworking and welding when I was in school, and I love making things. So I not only love coming up with the idea and concept on paper, but I love being able to experience my imagination, my designs in reality. And somebody that I really admired is Charles and Ray Eames. They were a husband-wife couple. They designed some really famous furniture. If I showed you pictures, you would know what I'm talking about. The Eames lounger is like so iconic. And Charles Eames said this: design is a plan for arranging elements in such a way as to best accomplish a particular purpose. A plan for arranging elements in such a way as to accomplish a particular purpose. A plan for arranging elements in order to accomplish a particular purpose. And I was like, that's the missing piece. You see, what he highlights is purpose. Okay, so if design is kind of the interplay between these two worlds and its purpose, then let's design your ideal 2024. Who wants to do this? Who wants to do this? Who wants to design the interplay between the person and the object, bringing purpose to 2024? Now, before we do this, we need to look at something. Who here in the room is a business owner? Who here is a business owner? Christina's a business owner. Nick's a business owner. Frederick, Randy. I'm just guessing here. Everybody, this is one of the things that we have in common inside the arena, is you have a business. And the business is there to create value into the world, right? And the business has its own needs. Okay? Here's where I want to start to hop into a little bit of my story so you can understand all of these concepts and understand how they all come together. In 2008, I decided I wanted to design a product that would help my husband quit his job, and together we could build a business. And he could quit his job and we could build this business together. And so I kind of got started, and a huge part of my own personal goal and objective was I wanted to develop my talents. And I wanted to see how far I could take them. I'd done really well in school, and then I was this stay-at-home mom, and there was this big part of my heart that was like, there's a part of you that's still not growing, Katie. There's a part of you that's not being stretched. You're being stretched in new ways, but that ability to design was kind of being pushed to the wayside, and it made me really uncomfortable. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start this business. So I did. I started a business, and it started taking off like really fast. And I had this belief that I've just got to put my head down and grind and fit this business in between my kids' nap times and bedtime, and just whenever I can get someone to watch the kids, I'm just going to squeeze it in, and I'm going to build this company. And then once I get it to $1 million, right? That's always the mark. Once I get it to $1 million, things will start to kind of slow down, and I'll be able to be more present with my kids and have more time for things like prayer and scripture study. So I felt strongly that this is what I wanted to do. So I start down this road. I start building this business. And you guys, it exploded. And to do this, it really took a plan, right? I created this business plan, and it was, I have to figure out how to get 200 stores to order my product so that I can tell my manufacturer in Taiwan to hit go and fill up a shipping container with 5,000 units and ship them, and I will have had 200 stores prepay for this inventory because I didn't have the money. And then the machine will be going, and then we can just keep growing and building it. Well, it worked. And I went to this trade show, and everybody bought. And within a year, I was in 2,000 stores in the U.S. with distribution in 26 different countries. It was madness. And so, like, my wildest dreams were coming true externally. Do you want to know what started to happen in here? I started to crumble. I was terrified of what was happening. Something I had not conceived of as I looked forward was starting to become clear to me, and it was terrifying me. And it had to do with the business. The business had these needs, okay? The business had these needs. And the business was like ruthless. It didn't ever sleep. It didn't shut off. It was global, by the way. It required me to design, manufacture, distribute, market. It was like 5 businesses in one. So like my business takes off. I'm in 2,000 stores in the U.S., distribution in 26 different countries. My product's being featured on the Ellen Show, the Rachael Ray Show, the Today Show. I'm on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine, and I'm crumbling inside. Why? Why was I crumbling inside? I didn't know how to do it all. All of a sudden, I had this thing in my life that was extremely complex. And it was tugging at me, and it was pulling me in all kinds of different directions. And I had this belief. I was like, okay, we got to $1 million. I thought my problems would go away. They didn't. Let's raise $1 million. That'll create some breathing room. And then I'll be able to like kind of step back a little bit, and I'll have more time for my kids. And so we did. We reached out to our network, and we're like, okay, we just need to raise some money. That'll create some breathing room. It will allow us to scale up and supply all this demand. And so we did. We reached out to our network, and we had people who were saying, any day now, your business is going to have $1 million cash in the bank account. And at the time, my husband had to go to Taiwan to oversee manufacturing of new products. He had been traveling for 2 months in a row, and he was like, I can't leave you and the kids anymore. At this point, I had 3 kids. He was like, I can't leave you anymore. And I was like, okay, well, we'll just come. And within 1 week, because this is just what we do as entrepreneurs, within 1 week, I got all 3 of my boys' passports. I found us a place to live in the middle of the financial district in Taipei, Taiwan. And we were on a plane. And we were in Taiwan, and we were living our dream. And yes, we were eating noodles off of a hot plate, but any day now, $1 million cash was going to come to the business bank account. And it was finally going to create some breathing room, and I was going to be able to manage the complexity of this business that I had built. And it was finally going to be me living my dream of being a present mother, of really feeling a deep connection with God, of working alongside my incredible husband, really having the ultimate life. And we get to Taiwan, we're talking with the investors, and they said something really unexpected. They said, Katie, we're not raising the money. In fact, we want to see this company burn. Now, I'd gotten to Taiwan on fumes. There was nothing left in my bank account. Nothing. You guys ever been there? There was nothing. We had leveraged everything we had to get to that point. And I was in this mass state of confusion. And you know what else I was feeling? I was angry. I was so full of anger. I was feeling rage. It was so foreign to me. I'd never felt rage like this before in my life. And I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, what the heck? You told me to do this. You told me to build a business. I had faith and belief in you. I moved forward blindly, believing it would all work out, and now I'm being pushed off of a cliff. What in the world? It didn't make any sense. And as much as we tried, we couldn't talk these guys out of it. They just instantly changed their mind. We're not raising the money. We want to see the company burn. And they were, I don't know if I mentioned this, they were minority share investors, but they had enough of equity in the company that we couldn't make decisions and move forward without their approval. We were stuck. We were totally stuck. We were doomed to fail. My whole world was crumbling. 2 years of living on food storage, grinding wheat to make bread to feed my family, scrimping and just doing everything I could to build this business. And now it's being ripped out from out of my hands. And it didn't make any sense. And I was wanting this. I wanted my ideal life. What the heck is going on? And through prayer and scripture, it brought me to my knees. It brought me to my knees. And I learned through this beautiful sacred moment that what I thought was the important thing, I thought God wanted me to build a business. I thought that was the mission that I was on. I thought I was making a product that solved problems and it helped people around the world, and I was doing that, but it was starting to fall apart. It didn't make sense. What was he trying to do? And that's when I started asking new questions, and I'm in this wrestle with God, and I'm saying, this doesn't make sense. Why is this being taken from me right now? And in that moment, I had this new thought. I thought that it was about the business, the products, the brand. God taught me a really beautiful lesson in my pain. You guys learned a lesson in your pain? And it was this: Katie, you think it's about the brand, the products, the company. That's not what this is about. This is not why I told you to go in this direction. Your business is a powerful vehicle for you to become who I created you to be.
Wow. That's good.
It wasn't about the business. Thank you, Luke. Yes, it wasn't about the business. The business was just an object. Okay? The business didn't care about me. In that moment when I was on my knees, my business could have cared less of my internal pain and suffering. It didn't care. It's sad but true. And so I had to figure out how to take these elements that were incompatible right now. Okay? They were at war with each other. They were incompatible. And I had to figure out, and this is the key, I'm going to go back to that quote from Eames. I had to figure out how to arrange these elements in a way that they aligned. Let's get visual here. Okay, I want you to draw these things. I've kind of pre-drawn some of them. It was like this was me. Okay? And I had my business. And I had wholesalers, retailers, distributors, manufacturers, suppliers. What else did I have? Oh, just 3 kids. What else did I have? Oh, a husband. What else did I have? What did I do with my Post-its? We're just going to add another one here. My husband, God, my health. Okay? Just so many targets that I was aiming after. So many targets that I was aiming after. You know what I was feeling? This is interesting. If you look up the origin of the word business, it comes from the word busyness. It means anxiety. Do you want to know what I was feeling in that moment? Tremendous anxiety. I was trying to hit all of these things somehow magically in 24 hours with a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, and 7-year-old at my ankles. And God saying, come on, Katie, you can do it. and this was me. And I'm trying to hit this target and trying to help this supplier and trying to educate this customer and trying to feed my kids dinner and do laundry. It just was too much. It was overwhelming. It felt impossible. Recently, I was talking with an entrepreneur. Long story short, I interviewed him on my podcast recently. I'll call him Alex. And he told me he failed in business 12 times before he finally had a successful business. And what did he finally find success in? Selling businesses. It was like so surprising when he told me that. It's like, you failed at business, but you got good at selling businesses? It was so wild. And he said, yeah, and like, I've been building this business of selling businesses. And in fact, Katie, I just had the biggest exit I've ever had. And I was like, wow, Alex, you figured it out. You've got this game down. You figured it out. You're not in that place of anxiety that I was in. Were you? Are you? And I started asking more questions. Because it sounded like Alex had it figured out. He had this wife and a child. They were planning on having another one. He was doing Spartan races. I'm like, wow, okay, Alex, he figured it out. And he was like, actually, the last 4 months have been the hardest 4 months of my life. Alex was feeling this. And I said, well, help me make sense of this, because Alex, you just said you have people knocking on your door to come speak on stage. You're going to Dubai in like a couple weeks to speak on stage. You have a continual flow of customers. Like, what's wrong? What's not working? What's your challenge that you're facing? And he said, Katie, I am building an empire. And if I continue down this road, it will destroy my marriage. I will not see my kids. I'll become that dad, is what he said. And my health will suffer. And he was like, it's not okay with me. And I don't know what to do. And this was the point I was at. And he said this to me, something has to change. Katie, something has to change. And it's terrifying because you built this business like this, by the way. You've built this business and it's starting to become unsustainable. And it's terrifying because you're like, do I have to let go of this business? It's meaningful for me. That's what I was facing in that moment. I was doing what I wanted to do. I was growing and stretching as a designer. I was developing my talents, and I knew that God wanted me to do that. But it was destroying, it was incompatible with my kids. It was incompatible with my health. It was incompatible with my relationship with God. It was getting in the way of everything. And it was so confusing because I wanted all of it, but it just didn't fit. It wasn't aligning. Now, I want you to see something here. So if this is the key to design, right? The interplay between the person and the object in a way where we are aiming at a purpose, okay? If that is the interplay, well, the person is you. The object is your business. And the purpose, well, that's your calling. That comes from God, right? Okay, so we need to arrange these targets in a way that it connects these worlds that are currently incompatible. Can I show you guys something? Really quick. I'm going to show you this visually. My product that exploded and took off and kind of took over the baby world, it's an infant bathtub. And the concept came from this. I wanted something to hang and store flat, but to hold volume. And it needs to hold water. Like, how do you do that? Those are seemingly incompatible constraints, and I'll show you how I did it. This is an infant bathtub. It hangs and stores flat. Can you see how flat it is? And through design, proportion, and rare earth magnets, it pops together, and it fits in your bathroom sink. It's warm, it's soft, it cradles your baby. It's really simple and profound. When I show this to people, they drop their jaw and they're like, wow, that's brilliant. This is what got me on all of those media places that we talked about earlier. And so I knew that in design, I could bring these incompatible elements, hang and store flat, pop together to hold volume. I knew I could do that in design. And what God was teaching me in this moment is I needed to do this with my life. This is what I needed to figure out so that someday I could help Alex, because he was facing the same problem. It made no sense to me at that time. My kids were young, like I said. When I started the company, I just had my second child. He was maybe a year old. He's actually in the room. Truman, come here. He's not expecting this. He was a baby. And I was trying to look into the future at this guy. And I was asking myself, how can I build a business that doesn't just serve me, but it serves him? That was my concept. Those were the constraints that seemed incompatible. This guy, he's amazing. He's actually taking B-roll for me right now. He's also a designer. He just got hired by a startup to do a logo for their company. It's so cool. We just did our round one. It's so cool. So he's my second. My oldest, he's having his Spanish lessons right now. He was actually, my oldest, he does video for a famous YouTuber that happens to live next door to us. Jerry Norton. And like the business that I built helped him develop these skills and talents, helped my son develop his skills and talents, that he can be hired at 19 by a world famous YouTuber to produce video. So cool. And it kind of blows my mind because I think it started here and then it developed into a concept. Now, I haven't shown you this yet. So if this is what I was feeling, what we needed to do was this. I knew this in theory. What we needed to do was we needed to rearrange everything, and it needed to all line up so that when I pull back on that bow and I aim my arrow, all going in the same direction. Do you know what happened to this woman who was like confused and overwhelmed and stressed out and afraid and angry at God? She got a smile on her face. Life went from being so painful and stressful and overwhelming and and feeling like I was being torn from the inside out to all of a sudden this exhilarating adventure where I felt like I was living my dreams. And this, my friends, this is what you need to do to design your ideal 2024. You have to identify these constraints. You need to understand the interplay between all of them. And they all need to point towards your purpose, your North Star. They all need to point towards that.
Quick question for you. What would happen in your business and life if you could show up powerfully? As a coach to high-performing entrepreneurs, I help intelligent people like you do just that. And if you want to be inspired by people who are getting more done in 90 days than most people do all year, I'm going to invite you to go check out my case studies. The website is now.katierichardson.com/case study. And the cool thing is we've got so many case studies there. You can find an entrepreneur who's just like you. I've also got a link for you down in the show notes. Okay, back to the show.
Now you might be thinking, well, tell me what you're thinking. Let's pause here for a second. What is going through your mind?
I'm thinking, how do we do that? I want to know that. I love that. I think at the heart of it too, that's where we're all at. Lots of us have businesses and kids, and we want them all to work together. We want to win at all of them.
Yeah.
We don't have to choose and sacrifice one or the other. Like all of them, we want all.
Yeah. And listen, like maybe some of you guys have said this before, something has to change. That's what I said when I was in Taiwan, something has to change. That's what Alex said, something has to change. One of my clients, we've worked together for over 2 years. When I first met him 2 years ago, it was the same thing. He was working 120 hours a week and his business partner was working 0. He couldn't separate from his business partner because he was his uncle, and that would send his mom into a mental health break. And he was actively losing his best employees, including a former employee that was trying to sue him for $1 million. And he would come home at night, and his wife wanted to know why he's not being present with his 2- and 3-year-old sons at the dinner table. Like, those were the constraints for Liam. And he was painted into a corner. And listen, it happens because part of why it happens is because you're so smart, because you're so hardworking, because you're so disciplined. In a way, you can juggle way more than most people. And so we kind of prop it up, but it's propped up on our own shoulders, and we become the bottleneck in our business. Kevin just said, I'm in the crazy middle of this exact transition as we speak. Had this exact thought last night. Something has to change. That was Joel. I want you to know, Kevin and Joel and Cassidy and Destin, like, there's not something wrong with you for wanting these things. I believe those desires that you have, they're placed there by your Creator because He wants you to wake up and learn some things. He has an incredible mission for you, and your business is a powerful vehicle for you to discover that. No one's going to hand it to you. You have to figure it out. Just like I figured it out, just like Liam's figured it out, just like I'm helping Alex to figure it out. And now we're not done. I have a couple of things that I'm going to show you. And But I do want to hop into questions here really soon. I'm going to show you how, and Luke, maybe we should talk about whether or not I should come back, because we don't really have time to go in deep into it. But it definitely is this. You've got to align it, okay? So this is the concept, but you're asking, but Katie, how do I do that in reality?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's through the design process. And I have a whole creation formula that I teach people, because you have to understand these worlds that are seemingly incompatible, and you've got to understand what tools to bring those worlds together that are at war right now. But the short answer is you do it by creating a plan that encompasses all of these things. And I call this a compass sketch. Compass meaning your inner compass, purpose, calling. Okay? Compass. Sketch. Okay, this is key. See, I had a plan, right? I had a plan and my plan was working. I had a business plan and that business plan was working. But the business is selfish. It wants money. It always wants more money, and it wants growth. Okay? It just wants to continually grow. There's not some autopilot button that you can just push on a business and you walk away from it. Somebody has to be there to ensure that it continues to grow. And the business really wanted those things, but the business didn't care about my purpose or my calling. It didn't even care about me. It didn't matter if it was me or somebody else doing it. So I had to figure out how to come up with a plan that encompassed all of these elements, and that's what I did. And what did that ultimately allow me to do? It allowed me to sustainably build this multi-million-dollar international business, to gain those rewards, all that attention and media, in a way where it had my ideal customers coming to me, by the way, which was really cool. And I went on to mother these incredible children, 4 beautiful children, 21 years married to an incredible man who's also a product designer, by the way, super brilliant man. And we're building our ideal life. We're living here in Puerto Rico, and as you know, there's some major tax advantages. My kids are learning Spanish. We're traveling around the world. We just got back from Spain a couple months ago. Took my kids to Sagrada Familia. They're homeschooling. I'm living my ideal life, a life of freedom, a life of fulfillment. What I do is so rewarding. Today, I'm a business coach, and I help people design their mind in a way that it allows you to do this. So I'm going to just quickly tell you some of the elements inside of a compass sketch. It includes your values. Okay? Values are key. They're how you make decisions. It includes a deep understanding on your vehicle, the results that you get people with that vehicle, and what I call a motivating message. And that is both the logical and the emotional reason why people should buy from you or work with you. It also has a North Star. This is key. It all hinges on this North Star. Here's what a North Star is. It's a lot of things. There's actually 5 points to a North Star. Not just physically 5 points, but there are 5 points. But a North Star is pretty much this. What do you want, or where are you going? What do you want? Agency is key. For a long time in my life, I was trying to do what I thought God wanted me to do. And God was like, but I gave you agency, Katie. I want you to choose. What do you want? I was like, I don't know. I'm scared. You want me to choose? Yikes. You want me to choose? You want me to take responsibility for my life? That terrified me. Okay? So with the North Star, you've got to know what you want, which includes where are you going. And then you have to also understand, why does that matter to you? Okay? That's the emotional component. We are human beings. Okay? If you just use logic, which is what I've done here, if you only use logic, you will eventually get to this point that we're talking about, where you're like, something has to change. This is not sustainable. Okay? Logic, smarts, strategy, those are all good, important things, but they're not the only thing that matters. And that's what I discovered when I was in Taiwan. it was all so confusing to me. I built this thing that I thought God wanted me to build, and it was being taken from me, and it didn't make sense, and I'm trying to make sense of it all. And Katie, that business is just a vehicle, but it's a vehicle that will help you become the woman that I created you to be. These elements, you've got to understand how to integrate all of it into your plan. Design is a plan. Design is intention. Design is arranging the elements to get the ideal outcome that you want. And previously, I'd used design just in my business. And it was doing the thing I designed it to do, producing income. It was growing my distribution. It was doing those things. I needed to zoom out and see the greater problem, which is exactly what I'd done with my physical product, by the way. It's not that babies weren't getting clean in the world. They were. They were getting clean. I mean, heck, take them in the backyard and hose them down with some water out of the hose. Like, that's one way to get them clean. The problem was that it was a difficult and scary experience for parents. And by zooming out and seeing the deeper problem and solving for that greater problem, I created a really innovative product, and I needed to do the same thing in my life. I was too close to the business. I was so focused on the revenue. I needed to zoom out and include these other elements. What are you guys seeing? I was going through this. The North Star. You need to understand your ideal avatar. You need to have a 12-month vision, and then you need to understand how to translate that 12-month vision into a 30, 60, 90-day plan. That's a compass sketch. And by the way, I want to give this to you guys. So I'll tell you how to do that in a minute. I want to hear what you're thinking. I know sometimes people tell me that they feel like they're drinking out of a fire hose, and I tried really hard to present these elements in a way that it makes sense, that it's super relatable, that it's like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're talking about, Katie. I didn't want to go too deep on any one thing so that I didn't lose you. So what are you guys thinking? What are you seeing as you think about all these concepts and these elements?
Yeah, throw it in chat what you're thinking.
I mean, you can tell me like what you're facing in your life, what you're experiencing, right? Because I was getting that external success, but I was crumbling inside. I was afraid I was losing my marriage. I was afraid I wasn't going to know my kids, that they wouldn't know me. Can you repeat number 4, North Star point? There's 5 elements. I only talked about 2 of them. I'm just trying to keep it simple and consumable right now. So the first is, what do you want, aka where are you going? Where are you going is kind of the key. It's an orientation thing, North Star. Here, I'll show you this. Because imagine this, without your North Star, it's like you're in your business, your vehicle, it's a vehicle, right? And you're out there in the ocean amongst the waves and the storm. If you're not tethered to your North Star, who knows where you're going to end up? I was tethered to revenue and significance, right? I wanted attention. I wanted to be seen in the world. I grew up the 4th of 6 kids. When I was 3, my mom had twins. I was invisible growing up, you guys. It made me feel really insignificant and unimportant. I wanted the world to see me. Well, that was happening. It was really happening, and it was destroying me. Wasn't expecting that. So the North Star is really, where are you going? What do you want? We need that agency element, choosing, okay? And then the other one is, why does that matter to you? That's hearkening to purpose and calling. Okay? Good question, by the way. My biggest issue is that sometimes I hit my targets and sometimes I miss them. Right now, I'm crushing my day job and struggling with applying the same resolve to building my business. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Because when have we ever, Christina, when have we ever been good at predicting the future? Never. This is the problem with a business plan. It's a plan. It's like, it's rigid. It's trying to predict the future. First, we're going to hit this mark. And then once we hit that, we're going to hit this mark. And then we're going to hit this mark. This is why I call it a compass sketch. Do you want to know why? As a designer, before you develop and like mass produce a product, it starts with a sketch. And then you prototype it 2, 3, 4 times. Then you make samples with your factory before you start mass producing it. The idea with a compass sketch, honestly, the sketch piece is the element of God. And I'll tell you why. I teach the Bible class at church, and when I would prepare my lessons, my kids were really young. I was busy. I had this big business, and I was supposed to teach the Bible class on Sunday. I was like, how am I going to fit all this in? And usually during the week, I could maybe prepare 75, 80%. And so I would go into the class feeling very unprepared. And yet we would have these incredible classes. And this one time before I went into class, my husband asked me, like, how prepared do you feel? And I always said 80%. This time I was like 100%. I spent way more time on it. Like, I've got this one in the bag. I figured it out. Guess what? That class flopped. You want to know why? There wasn't room for God in it. Katie had it all figured out.
Ooh.
I didn't need him. I had it all figured out. And that's what makes this plan so different, is it makes room for God. God is going to, you're going to determine goals and targets, and you're going to start moving towards them. God's going to present something to you that might get you there faster and in better shape, or get you there way better than you could on your own. But if you're so tunnel vision to your plan, you're going to be like, no thanks, I don't need you, I got this. So that's the whole concept behind the compass sketch, is leaving room for God, leaving room for those miracles, leaving room for the unexpected, both the good unexpected and the bad unexpected, because the unexpected will happen. We need to plan for it. How literal should the alignment between the business and calling be? Like, should this boil all the way down to ICP focuses? What's ICP?
Ideal client profile.
Say that again?
Ideal client.
Oh, okay. Yes, but I'll just tell you, it's in a really unexpected way. And what's interesting is, what's so cool is oftentimes when I work with people, you don't have to like go create a new business. Some people choose to, and I help those people if that's what they want and need to do. Some people just need to understand how to bring their calling to how they show up with their team, how they show up with their clients and customers. And they don't necessarily need to rebrand or create new products. It's really an internal thing. It's building your business from the inside out. And if we get you in alignment, your head and your heart, if we get those in alignment and communicating and working together, because too often when people come to me, they're really smart, but they're ignoring this. They push it down. We won't go into that right now. But that's what the process is. It's about understanding how to create alignment here with you and how to then extend that into the business.
Joel had a good question about any tips on defining your purpose.
Yeah. It starts by looking at the thing that you don't want to look at.
Ooh, so good.
What do you not want to look at? What do you not want me or Luke or anybody else in the room to know about you? That's where it starts. I believe that there is opposition in all things. And I believe that there's tremendous power in your pain. If you know how to look at your pain and reframe your pain to give it a purpose, then that thing that was such a big failure in your life becomes the rocket fuel and the very reason why you're ultra successful. It's the opposition principle. Okay? It was a huge weight around your neck. It was your greatest failure. And with God and a compass sketch, it becomes the reason why you're so successful today. It flips it. So you've got to understand your pain. And you have to understand how to create meaning from that, learn from it, and actually apply that to your business. Good question, by the way. Yeah, pain to purpose, for sure. Yep. Yeah. And I know that that's really difficult. We can get so lost in the emotion of our pain. We can get so disoriented in the feelings and the trauma and the pain of our pain. It's a big part of why I do what I do is I help people stay grounded and centered and walk them through a very strategic process to really discover this. Because once you do it, and listen, you can do it to a point where it's not really the pain. You haven't gone deep enough. You have to get at the core. With this product, I got at the core of the problem. I zoomed out. It wasn't a surface solution. Okay? I got at the core. Same is true here. We've got to get at the core of your pain. And we have to understand how to flip it and turn it into your purpose.
Yeah, that's so good. I know we'll make sure that the worksheet that you presented, we'll make sure everyone get access to that.
What I was going to say is if you send me a DM on Instagram, I'm katie.live. If you send me a DM on Instagram, I'll send this to you. Because this is the solution. That's the solution. So send me a DM, katie.live, and I'll send it to you. I want people to have this, Luke. Like, I had to go through so much pain and struggle and difficulty and failure to figure this out on my own. And what's so rewarding is to teach somebody like Liam, like I was telling you about. He was the one who worked 120 hours a week, and business partner was his uncle, actively losing best employees, including someone who was trying to sue him for money. Like, he was like hamstring tied? What was it called?
Yeah.
What's the phrase? Hamstrung. He was. And his wife even said to him, like, he was just head down, working, hoping, praying that someday it would all work out. And his wife said, like, how much longer is it going to be like this? They never saw it. How much longer is it going to be like this? You know what he said to her? He paused and he was like, 12 more years. She was like, you don't have 12 more years. You have till the end of the year. I met him in October and she had just told him this. You have till the end of the year. I'm not sticking around for that journey. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not raising these kids on my own. And that's what Alex was saying to me too. He was like, Katie, I'm running out of runway. The change has to happen right now. And so with Liam, I got to work and we did this. And do you want to know what happened? It was super cool. By December, he had cut down his hours to 60 hours, which you think, okay, Katie, yeah, he cut back his hours. I could do that, but my company would fall apart. He cut back his hours by half, and December was their highest sales year ever. And this was a hard money lending industry. He had 3 verticals in his business. It was really complex. He had investors, he had lenders. It was a really complex business. We'd cut back his hours. He took Christmas break in Park City, was rolling around in the snow with his kids. He didn't even bring his laptop on vacation. 0 business meetings. Highest performing month ever. And it was this. This is what we had done. And this is why we were able to do it so quickly. And the cool thing is, usually for people in the room, fast often is associated with like frantic energy and anxiety and overwhelm. It's like, I can't keep up. It wasn't like that. I got a message from his wife who was like, I feel like I got my husband back. He was present with his kids. He was doing breakfast with them. And his team, he stopped losing his best employees. His team, in fact, his father-in-law was one of his team members. And his father-in-law, in a business meeting, got really emotional and said, I thought I was headed towards retirement, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. And it was because of the changes that Liam had made internally, and that then got applied to the business externally, that all of a sudden he was happier, his team was happier, they were performing. It's because of this, you guys. There's tremendous efficiency that happens with this. Like, think about this. Think about this. If you're trying to hit all of these targets, and every time you go to hit one of these targets, you have to determine the wind, distance, orient yourself and aim. Like that takes a lot of time. And so if you're trying to do that with each and every one of these, you're losing ground in the transitions. But when they're aligned, like you're already oriented towards all of them. So when you are leading in your business, it's deepening your relationship with God. When you are present with your kids, it's improving your ability to perform at work. It's all connected. And a business plan doesn't acknowledge that.
That is so good. That's like the perfect ending point right there. So awesome. Katie, thank you so much. I know there's been so many good comments already about how impactful this has been, but throw it in the chat. Scale 1 to 10. Share your takeaways. I know I wanted to shout this out. Brooke wrote in the comments, she said, I'm in tears. This is exactly what I need. I've been there for at least 2 years, and I so needed this. So, super impactful. But I know Katie said Katie.live on Insta.
Yeah.
So, go there. Check it out. Get a hold of the Compass worksheet. And I would love to have you back. Sounds like everyone would love to have you back. So,
yeah, that'd be awesome. This has been amazing. I just have to tell you personally, I showed you Truman because I wanted you to see that this all began at 0 for me. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where I was going. I just generally knew that I was trying to be the woman that God had created me to be. And when I was building a physical products company, so much of it didn't make sense. I was like, why does God care about this? Why does God care about a bathtub? Like it just didn't make sense. And I didn't know that my journey was going to lead me to this point where I was going to be helping people like Frederick and Oscar and Destin and Joel and Kevin and Brendan and Brooke and Gabriel and Brad Gibb. He's my friend. He's in the group, but he said he's going to watch the replay. I had no, the Katie of 17 years ago had no idea that I could someday be here with Luke inside Taylor Welch's group teaching you guys this concept. I had no idea, but I trusted God and I kept moving forward. And ultimately it's led me to this point where I can help people become powerful leaders who seek God in their life, who understand how to build a business that's founded on purpose and meaning. And that's exhilarating. And you guys can do this too. It's not just for me, it's for everybody.